Mr. President, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to engage in a colloquy with Senator Wyden of Oregon for 15 minutes.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I just want to pay tribute to my two colleagues, Senator Casey and Senator Ayotte, for their focus on human rights, and particularly the rights of women wherever those women may live. And I rise tonight to talk about the rights that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights. And to that particular key concern of Americans, I want to talk about the importance of reforming our domestic surveillance laws. And we, Senator Wyden and I, as we both enter this discussion, we have one general goal in mind, and that is to find the proper balance between keeping our nation safe from terrorism while still protecting our cherished constitutional rights. Senator Wyden and I are both members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and we argued for years that the government's domestic surveillance authorities need to be narrowed. And we're going to keep leading this fight in the days and weeks and the months to come. And as a part of this ongoing effort, we recently introduced comprehensive bipartisan legislation that would end the NSA's collection of millions of innocent Americans' private phone records, shield Americans from warrantless searches of their communications, and install a constitutional advocate at the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. We believe that overly intrusive domestic surveillance programs, misleading statements made by senior intelligence officials, and revelations about how secret courts have handed down secret rulings on secret law have eroded the trust and confidence of the American people. Mr. President, simply put, we need to restore this trust. And the best way to do that is to carve out time and hold a vigorous and substantive debate here on the Senate floor, a debate the American people have demanded and they deserve. And Mr. President, Senator Leahy, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, introduced his own comprehensive reform proposal last month with Representative Sensenbrenner. Representative Sensenbrenner is a key figure in all this because he was the original author of the Patriot Act. He has had concerns. He's joined forces with Senator Leahy. And this bipartisan plan, the Leahy-Sensenbrenner plan, includes many of the proposals that Senator Wyden and I have long called for, and we are proud to support this effort. Mr. President, let me be clear. This issue is not going away. It's not going to go away because more and more Americans and more of our colleagues are coming to understand the true overreach of our nation's surveillance programs and the effect on Americans' privacy. This issue is not going to go away because we're not going to stop shining a light on the potential for future abuse that comes with our government's secret interpretation of its authorities under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And I truly believe, Mr. President, I really do, that ultimately our efforts, the efforts of Senator Wyden, Chairman Leahy, Representative Sensenbrenner, Senator Paul, Senator Blumenthal, the presiding officer, and myself and a growing number of others will lead to a majority of this Congress acting in common sense ways to protect the privacy of Americans. Now, Mr. President, we're here today on the floor in the midst of a consideration of a very critical piece of legislation for our national security and for the well-being of our men and women in uniform, the Defense Authorization Act. I'm a member of the Armed Services Committee. I have the great privilege of chairing the Subcommittee on Strategic Forces. I know as well as anyone this is a must-pass bill. And the issues that we've debated here this week related to Guantanamo Bay and the scourge of sexual assault in our military are matters that rightfully demand significant and thoughtful time here on the Senate floor. And while I think Senator Wyden and I would agree that this week's debate on the National Defense Authorization Act is not the right time for a full, comprehensive debate on surveillance reform, I do believe it is the right time to begin that conversation. And Senator Wyden has introduced a smart, pro-transparency, pro-accountability amendment, and that amendment is the right place to start. His amendment is based on the work we've been doing for a number of years now, and that's why I'm a proud co-sponsor and a strong supporter. This amendment would increase the transparency of domestic surveillance programs, and I think it should have, and I know it will have, broad support in this body. I'm going to let Senator Wyden speak more extensively about our amendment. By the way, we also have introduced with the chair of the Appropriations Committee, Senator Mikulski, But I want to just say again, this is the perfect way to begin and frame what will become a more fulsome debate over the next few months. We're going to demand that we have this debate because Coloradans and Oregonians and Americans across our country demand that we have that debate. With that, I'd like to turn to my friend and colleague, Senator Wyden, for his thoughts.
Thank you.